Once upon a time, a kind-hearted ogre lives alone in the mountains, longing to make friends with humans. However, they fear him because of his appearance and always keep their distance. One day, his friend, the blue ogre, comes to visit and suggests a plan. If he causes a bit of trouble in the village, the red ogre can step in and defeat him, making the humans see him in a new light. The idea fills the red ogre with hope, believing that this might finally change how the humans see him and open the door to friendship. Gouda Takeo is a third-year student in junior high, and today is his last day there. During the graduation ceremony, he and his friends are in tears, knowing they won't end up at the same high school. They give him a farewell gift, and after exchanging goodbyes, Gouda leaves. He's been working with Satou on the student council and finds her incredibly beautiful. Before he leaves, he decides he must confess his feelings to her. Racing through the hallways, Gouda searches for Satou. He finally reaches the classroom where she is, but as he peeks inside, he sees her standing with another boy, Sunakawa. Gouda quickly hides by the door, just in time to hear Satou confessing her love to Sunakawa. His heart sinks as he hears Sunakawa tell her that he doesn't feel the same way. Shocked, Gouda gasps, catching their attention. Satou turns pale as a ghost when she notices him. Then Sunakawa and Gouda leave together. Sunakawa is Gouda's close friend. Ever since kindergarten, every time Gouda likes a girl, she ends up liking Sunakawa instead, yet Sunakawa always turns them down. The two of them live in the same apartment complex and their mothers are good friends. Growing up, they spent countless hours playing together as kids. As they walk, Gouda asks Sunakawa if he's aware of the recent reports about a molester in the area. The day before, Gouda had stationed himself at the entrance of the elementary school to protect the kids. Unfortunately, his gesture backfired and someone reported him to the police as a creepy man, quote-unquote, hanging around the school gates. When Sunakawa hears this, he bursts out laughing. Later, while riding the train together, Sunakawa gives up his seat to a woman with a child. Inspired, Gouda tries to do the same for an elderly man, but the man ignores his kind gesture completely. As the train continues, Sunakawa notices a suspicious man standing behind a young girl, his hand inappropriately placed on her. Gouda rushes over, grabs the man's hand, and forcefully removes it from the girl. He firmly urges the man to get off at the next station. The girl turns to Gouda, her eyes filled with gratitude, and thanks him. Gouda is mesmerized by her beauty. Later, they take the man to the police station. There, the girl bravely shares what happened. However, the molester tries to defend himself, claiming that the way she was dressed meant she was asking for it. Hearing this vile excuse, Gouda throws a punch at the man. After Gouda is suspended as a result, Suna comes over to deliver his notes. While they're talking, Gouda's mother enters his room, letting him know that a girl named Yamato is at the door and wants to see him. Confused since Gouda doesn't know anyone by that name, he tells his mother to let her in. Suna says that his room is a mess and Gouda scrambles to tidy it up, but before he can do much, the girl from the train incident, Yamato, is already at his door. Yamato thanks Gouda for saving her and nervously hands him a cheesecake she brought as a gift, suggesting they all share it together. Suna stands up to leave, but when Yamato asks if he's going already, Gouda's heart sinks, assuming she must like Suna. They eat the cheesecake together and afterward, both Sunakawa and Yamato head out. When Gouda returns to his room, he notices a pink phone ringing. Picking it up, Gouda hears Yamato on the other end, explaining that she must have left it behind. She asks to meet him at the park so she can retrieve it, and this time she brings along a box of macarons. As they talk, Gouda starts to wonder why Yamato is always blushing. Suddenly overwhelmed, he runs off to the bathroom and returns drenched in water. Both Suna and Yamato rush to help him dry off. As they're heading home, Yamato comes running back, asking for Gouda's email address. He hands her his towel, noticing she's all sweaty from running, and gives her his email. Yamato thanks him again before leaving. Despite the sweet moments they shared, Gouda is convinced that Yamato must have feelings for Suna. Determined to help her, Gouda decides he'll do whatever he can to support her, even if it means stepping aside for his friend. During class, Gouda receives a text from Yamato wishing him a good day. He blushes, reminding himself of his mission to help set her up with Sunakawa and ensure their relationship succeeds. At home, Gouda realizes that despite knowing Suna for over 10 years, they've never talked about girls, so he has no idea what kind of girl his friend likes. Determined to figure it out, Gouda visits Suna and asks him to choose between different types of women that he describes. However, none of the options give him a clear answer. Suna then comments that Gouda's preferences in women are easy to understand. He points out that Gouda tends to go for girls he thinks he has a halfway chance with, those who smile a lot and get along well with others. Gouda and Sunakawa go out for a walk, and Gouda suddenly asks Suna if he has a girlfriend. Suna, finding the question odd, explains that just thinking about the responsibilities that come with dating makes him feel tired. Gouda is shocked by this answer. The next day, Gouda receives another text from Yamato. She tells him that she bakes something for him and asks if she can visit him tomorrow. Gouda agrees and they plan to meet at the park. When the day arrives, Gouda brings Suna along with him. Yamato greets both of them with a bright smile, and they sit together on a bench. Gouda starts eating the zakatota that Yamato had prepared for him. After a while, Suna excuses himself to go get something to drink. Yamato quickly gets up, offering to go with him, saying she should have thought of that as well, but Suna tells her not to worry, and goes off alone. Left with Yamato, Gouda starts sharing the story of how he met Suna back in kindergarten, explaining that they were both part of a play about a red and a blue ogre. He continues talking about Suna's preferences and mentions that Suna is single, hoping this might help Yamato in her feelings towards him. Yamato asks Gouda if she can bake for him again, and he agrees. Suna returns with the drinks. Yamato thanks him and pays him back for it. Before they part ways, Yamato asks Gouda if she can still text him to ask about what cakes he'd like her to bake. Gouda agrees and pushes Suna to share his contact information with Yamato as well, which Suna does. As they say their goodbyes, a pole suddenly starts to fall towards Yamato. Gouda acts quickly, rushing to her rescue and grabbing the pole with his hands, while Suna shields Yamato and moves her out of the way. Together, the two friends try to stabilize the pole. With all his strength, Gouda manages to throw the pole aside, and they all collapse on the ground, catching their breaths. Yamato notices a cut on Gouda's cheek and immediately places a bandage over it, thanking him for always helping her. Later that night, Yamato calls Gouda to check on him. During the call, she makes a request. Next time they meet, she wants it just to be the two of them, without Suna, because she'd like to spend time with him alone. Gouda agrees, though he assumes Yamato simply wants to talk privately about how to get closer to Suna. The following day, Gouda waits for Yamato in the park. When she arrives, he's taken aback by how beautiful she looks. She smiles warmly and apologizes for being late. They sit down and Yamato hands him the salty cakes she made. Gouda tries them and is amazed by how delicious they taste. She pours him some tea as well, mentioning that since Suna brought the drinks last time, she made sure to come prepared this time. As they chat, Gouda starts praising Suna, reminding Yamato that Suna would make a great partner. But when he looks over at her, he's surprised to see tears streaming down her cheeks. Yamato quickly covers her face and apologizes, saying that something got into her eyes. Before he can say anything, she hurriedly excuses herself and leaves. Confused and overwhelmed, Gouda goes to see Suna and tells him about Yamato's strange reaction when he mentioned Suna. Suna sighs, calling him an idiot, and tells him that Yamato reacted that way because she likes him, not Suna. Suna shares with Gouda that during the time he went to the restroom at the park, Yamato opened up about her feelings. She mentioned how cool she finds Gouda and expressed her happiness upon learning that he was single, finally confessing that she likes him. Gouda struggles to believe this at first, but Suna reassures him that it's the first time Gouda has liked a girl who doesn't talk badly behind his back. This realization dawns on Gouda. It's why Suna had turned down all the girls who tried to date him in the past. Later, Suna's mother informs them that Yamato came to visit. To prove that Yamato truly has feelings for Gouda, Suna suggests that he hide. As Yamato settles in, she opens up about the incident at the park, expressing her determination to win Gouda's heart because she genuinely likes him. Suna encourages her to repeat that she likes Gouda 3 times, which she does. Then Suna kneels by the bed and urges Gouda to come out and express his own feelings too. Yamato feels shy at first, but eventually gathers the courage to confess to Gouda that she has liked him ever since the first time they met. Encouraged by her honesty, Gouda shares his feelings as well, and they both blush at the sweet exchange. The next day, the three of them gather at the park again. Yamato brings a cake she baked for Suna as a gesture of gratitude for his help. As they enjoy the cake, Yamato tries to set Suna up with one of her friends. However, Suna declines the offer, explaining that he doesn't feel lonely and finds happiness in seeing both Yamato and Gouda together. Moved by Suna's words, Gouda feels a wave of emotion and hugs his friend tightly, grateful for their support and friendship. Today is Gouda and Suna's first day of high school. On their way there, Gouda sees a woman struggling to carry her baby up the stairs and quickly offers his help. The woman looks scared at first, but Suna reassures her that Gouda is just trying to be kind. She relaxes and thanks Suna for the reassurance. Just then, Yamato arrives and praises Gouda for his strength and kindness, which fills him with joy. She surprises him by offering some homemade Japanese sweets, and they chat about their shared love for spring. Suna can't resist teasing them, making Gouda blush. The couple enjoys their time together, snapping a selfie that Yamato shares with Gouda so he can use it as his wallpaper. Suddenly, her phone rings and she answers, mentioning that she is out with her boyfriend. Gouda feels a wave of happiness, wash over him at her words. However, Yamato's expression shifts and she reveals that all her 5 friends are single and want to meet him and his friends. Gouda agrees to bring his friends along. The next day, the girls and boys meet up, eager to see who Yamato's boyfriend is. They're disappointed when she introduces Gouda, even joking that they have mistaken him for a bear. While they're walking, Yamato trips and almost falls, but Gouda catches her just in time, impressing the girls with his strength. At the restaurant, they encounter a pile of boxes blocking the entrance. Gouda removes them so people can pass through. Inside, the girls can't help but focus on Suna, whispering about how strange it is that Yamato would choose someone like Gouda when Suna is right there. 2 of Yamato's friends go to the restroom, but when they take too long, Yamato and Gouda decide to check on them. They overhear the girls gossiping, laughing, and making hurtful comments about Gouda's looks, calling him very ugly. When the girls notice Yamato, their smiles fade. Yamato begins to cry and defend Gouda, insisting that he is cool. After she leaves, Gouda rushes after her, reassuring her that she shouldn't worry about him and he hates seeing her cry. As they walk back to the restaurant, chaos erupts around them as people rush out. Suna informs Gouda that a fire has suddenly broken out. The girls are crying, unable to find their friends, Nanako and Ayu. Without a second thought, Gouda covers himself in water and rushes back inside the building. He manages to save Nanako and then quickly returns for Ayu, reaching her just in time before the roof collapses on her. However, the roof falls on him instead. Once outside, Ayu informs everyone that Gouda was still inside. Yamato breaks down in tears and Suna calls out to Gouda, urging him to find a way out because life will be too boring without him. Miraculously, Gouda finds his way out and emerges, prompting Yamato to rush to him and hug him tightly. Later, the girls thank him and apologize to Yamato for their earlier behavior. While Gouda and Suna are walking home, a woman yells for help, explaining that her child has fallen off the bridge into the water. Without hesitation, Gouda jumps in and rescues the baby. Despite being drenched, he quickly runs to meet Yamato for their date after this. When he arrives at the park, his girlfriend is thrilled to see him. Upon noticing his wet clothes and learning about his heroic act, she expresses how proud she is of him and hands him a towel. As Gouda dries off, he removes his shirt, making Yamato blush. Later, while they're hanging out, he strokes her hair and asks her not to move. When she turns red, he explains that there's a bug in her hair. In the evening, Suna leaves, leaving the couple alone to enjoy the starry sky. Gouda reassures Yamato that he won't touch her or attempt anything until she's ready. After walking her home, Suna returns to find his sister has come back and brought him a present. Curious about Gouda, she mentions that there was a lot she wants to share with him. Suna casually informs her that Gouda now has a girlfriend, which shocks her. She starts to cry, admitting that she has feelings for Gouda and angrily insisting on meeting Yamato to determine if she is genuinely caring for him or is just using him. The next day, Suna's sister, Ai, decides to follow her brother and his love interest to the park to discover who Gouda's girlfriend is. When she sees Yamato, she can't believe her eyes. Rushing over, she greets Gouda and Yamato introduces herself as well. The 4 of them sit together to enjoy the cookies that Yamato had made. However, Ai feels a pang of jealousy and pretends that one of the cookies is salty. This makes Yamato feel bad, prompting her to apologize to Gouda. He reassures her that it's okay, trying to ease her discomfort. Later, as Suna and Ai walk home, Ai insists that Yamato was hiding something and was not being completely honest with Gouda. The following day, Ai spots Gouda at a shop engrossed in a magazine. Approaching her, Ai explains that he's trying to understand how girls think as he suspects something was off with Yamato and wants to be there for her. Ai suggests that maybe Yamato is cheating or has found someone else. Gouda calmly responds that if that is the case, he will be fine, but what matters most to him is that Yamato is okay. Ai was surprised by his reaction, but offered to talk to Yamato and try to support her. Suna and Ai decide to visit Yamato, who is surprised to see just the 2 of them. Opening up, Yamato confesses her desire to become more intimate with Gouda, but expresses her fear that he might think she is impure if she tells him. Despite her own feelings, Ai encourages Yamato to be honest with Gouda about her emotions. Later, Ai shares a childhood memory with Suna. She recalls being tall and skinny, often compared by boys to the growing child statue in the elementary schoolyard. While walking home with Gouda, he mentions that she reminds him of something. Yamato braces herself for a comparison to the statue, but instead he points out some nearby lily flowers and says she reminds him of them. Suna stares at his sister, expecting her to elaborate on the story. This frustrates Ai, who argues that while it may seem insignificant to him, it is incredibly special to her, and that's what it feels like to be in love. Later, when Yamato meets up with Gouda, she opens up to him about her needs and he listens to her every small demand, accepting them without argument. In a moment of vulnerability, Yamato confesses that she has lied a few times to keep seeing Takeo, which surprisingly makes him even happier. That night, as Ai makes her way home, Gouda asks Suna if they can practice kissing, but Suna resists. Suna and Gouda meet up with Yamato when two second-year boys approach them. The boys bow down before Gouda, kneeling on the ground as they beg for his help. They explain that they need him to join their judo club because the team is about to participate in the Shu-Bi match, an annual tradition where they face off against their longtime rivals Bianca High School. The competition is tied 9-9, and this 10th match will decide the ultimate victory and secure their school's glory. Moved by their plea, Gouda agrees to join. Yamato, impressed, learns that Gouda practiced judo all the way through junior high and even competed at the nationals, finding it amazing. Suna reminds Gouda that training for the match will mean spending less time with Yamato. Feeling torn, Gouda apologizes to her, but Yamato quickly reassures him with a smile. She tells him it's okay and that she'd love to watch him practice judo and cheer him on. During practice, Gouda's strength amazes everyone in the club. Afterward, when he steps out of the club, he's surprised to find Yamato waiting for him. She shyly admits that she peeked in during his practice and tells him how cool he looked. Yamato hands Gouda the rice balls she prepared for him, but just as he's about to thank her, he hears a noise from the street and spots a sign warning about gropers. Concerned for her safety, Gouda thanks her but firmly asks her not to come to his practice anymore. He walks her home. In the following days, Gouda gets busy with his intense practice. One night, Suna opens his door to find Yamato standing there with bags of scones. She shyly explains that she baked too many while thinking of Gouda, so she wanted to share some with Suna. As they talk, Yamato tears up and confides in Suna, worried that Gouda doesn't like her anymore. She explains that the last time she went to see him, he told her not to come to his practice. Suna reassures her, suggesting it's probably just a misunderstanding, and Yamato feels relieved. She opens up about all the reasons she fell in love with Gouda. That night after practice, Gouda calls Yamato to check on her and hear her voice. During their conversation, he invites her to come to his match tomorrow along with Suna, eager to have her there. On the day of the match, Gouda's opponent, Tsuyoshi, taunts him, assuming Gouda must have gotten soft from having a girlfriend. However, Gouda remains focused. When the match begins, he fights with all his strength, and in the end, he emerges victorious. Yamato watches in awe, admiring her boyfriend's power and determination. Afterward, when Gouda and Yamato meet up, he's overjoyed to see her. Holding her hands, he tells her with a bright smile that he won because she was there, cheering for him. Yamato blushes, her heart filled with admiration for Gouda. After school, Gouda and Yamato meet up. While hanging out, Yamato asks him when his birthday is. He shares that it's on the 1st of January, and despite it being in the middle of winter break, his friends always come to wish him a happy birthday. Yamato says she'll start preparing what she'll bake for him. Gouda then asks about her birthday, and she reveals it's on the 15th of June, which is 10 days from now. She reassures him that she doesn't need anything, but wants him to spend the whole day with her. Gouda blushes and agrees. Later, he asks Suna for help planning something special for Yamato's birthday. That evening, Gouda's mother shares some exciting news. He's going to be a big brother soon, which fills him with happiness. Both Suna and Yamato congratulate him. Yamato tells Gouda that he'll make an amazing brother and one day a great father. Gouda, blushing, responds that she would make a wonderful mother, too. They both turn red at the thought of being parents. Suna suddenly excuses himself, mentioning that he has something to take care of. Watching him leave, Gouda tells Yamato that Suna has been acting strange lately. Yamato suggests that maybe Suna is feeling lonely because Gouda has been spending less time with him. Gouda thanks her for helping him understand, as he finds it difficult to read Suna's feelings. The next day, while Suna is zoned out in class, Gouda catches him off guard by inviting him to join them on the 15th to celebrate Yamato's birthday. Suna, surprised, asks why, and Gouda explains that he thought Suna might be feeling lonely. Suna reassures him that he's not and instead helps Gouda plan Yamato's birthday, finding amusement in the memories his suggestions bring up. To afford a special gift for Yamato, Gouda takes a part-time job at a cafe. During this time, he learns that Suna's father has been hospitalized and is scheduled for surgery on June the 15th. Despite Suna urging him to stick to his plans with Yamato, Gouda is torn. Ultimately, he respects Suna's wishes and prepares to focus on celebrating Yamato's birthday. Gouda realizes there are still so many things that he and Yamato don't know about Suna, even after more than 10 years of friendship. On the day of Yamato's birthday, Gouda waits outside her apartment complex, feeling a bit anxious. When Suna arrives, Gouda asks about the surgery. Suna tells him it's scheduled for 2 o'clock and asks him to send his best regards to Yamato. The two friends bump fists, a quiet show of support. Suna reassures Gouda that the day will go well and that Yamato will love everything he has planned. Gouda begins the birthday outing with Yamato, following the plan Suna had helped him with. When they meet up, he smiles and wishes her a happy birthday. Yamato, beaming with joy, thanks him warmly. They spend the day having fun, bowling, laughing together, and later enjoying a lovely meal at a fancy restaurant. However, throughout the day, Gouda can't stop thinking about Suna and his father's surgery. Eventually, he opens up to Yamato about it. He explains that Suna's father is undergoing surgery today, and even though Suna insisted that he focus on her birthday, he can't help but worry about his friend. Gouda, feeling the need to be by Suna's side, decides to visit him at the hospital. Understanding his concern, Yamato encourages him to go, telling him it's okay that Suna needs him right now. Before leaving, Gouda gives Yamato the gift he had bought for her, feeling both grateful and guilty as he rushes off. When he arrives at the hospital, Suna spots him and, though surprised, calls him an idiot for abandoning Yamato's birthday, something he had been so excited about. Despite his words, Suna softens and opens up, sharing that his father has always had a weak heart. He talks about how his father was always there for him and I, even through his own struggles. As they wait, the news comes that the surgery was a success. Relieved, Gouda and Suna step out of the hospital together and, to their surprise, find Yamato waiting for them. She smiles, enjoying the remainder of her birthday despite the change in plans, her presence a quiet reassurance that everything is as it should be. Gouda and Yamato decide to go on a picnic in the mountains as a do-over for her birthday. As they hike up the trail, Gouda notices that Yamato's backpack looks heavy. Always thoughtful, he offers to carry it for her. Yamato smiles gratefully, thanking him and handing over the bag. When Gouda asks what's inside, she explains it's filled with bento boxes, a water bottle, and other picnic essentials. After reaching the top of the mountain, they find a peaceful spot. Yamato sits on a rock, wiping away sweat from the summer heat. Feeling too warm, she removes her shirt, revealing the pin that Gouda gave her as a birthday gift, which she has proudly attached. Suddenly, a bird swoops down and snatches her shirt, flying off into the sky. Panicked, Yamato immediately runs after the bird, trying to retrieve it. In her haste, she reaches the edge of a cliff, dangerously close to slipping. Just in time, Gouda dashes over and grabs her hand. Unfortunately, they both lose their balance and tumble off the mountain. Thanks to Gouda's strength and quick thinking, they land safely but find themselves in an unfamiliar part of the woods. Worried, Yamato immediately checks on Gouda to make sure he's okay. When she sees he's unharmed, she feels relieved. She pulls out her phone to call for help but realizes there's no signal in this remote part of the forest. Meanwhile, back in town, Yamato's friends wonder where she is. After a brief conversation about Suna, admitting they probably don't stand a chance with him, one of the girls brings up Gouda, noting that while he might not fit the typical hot image, his manliness is what makes him attractive. Back in the forest, Gouda decides to climb a tall tree to get a better view of their surroundings, hoping to find a way out. He reassures Yamato that he'll get her home safely, mentioning he can hear cars nearby, meaning there must be a road. However, he warns that reaching the town might take until the next day. Yamato blushes at the thought of spending the night alone with him. Gouda, assuming she's worried, pats her shoulder and encourages her not to worry. As they begin walking, he suggests she hold onto his shirt to avoid getting separated, which she does. When his stomach starts growling, they sit down to eat the bentos. While Yamato's friends are enjoying themselves, her mother calls to check if Yamato is with them. The girls cover for Yamato, saying she's with them. Concerned, they try calling her, but the call goes straight to voicemail. They decide to find a way to contact one of Gouda's friends to figure out where she might be. In the mountains, Yamato asks if she can hold Gouda's hand. He agrees, and as they hold hands, she blushes deeply. Suddenly, they hear a noise in the distance. A wild boar is approaching. Gouda swiftly deals with it, sending the boar flying away. He pulls Yamato close to him to calm her down afterward. As the moon lights up the night, they lie down to rest, gazing at the stars. When Gouda falls asleep, Yamato leans over and gives him a gentle peck on the cheek. The next morning, they wake up to find animals gathered around Gouda, an unusual sight that adds to the oddity of their adventure. After walking for a while, they reach the roadside. Yamato notices the mosquito bites covering Gouda's skin and grows concerned, though he reassures her calmly. Eventually, they make it home safely. Later, Yamato visits her friends, reassuring them that she's fine. As she shares the details of their night in the woods, her friends are excited and overwhelmed by the story. Yamato then sends a message to Gouda, letting him know that she enjoyed their time together. Meanwhile, Gouda struggles to express his feelings through text and turns to Suna for help. hoping to find the right words to convey how much he appreciated their time. The boys are thrilled about the upcoming beach trip with Gouda, Yamato, and her friends. However, Gouda becomes irritated when one of the boys eagerly mentions how excited he is to see the girls in their swimsuits. They tease Gouda about having the chance to see Yamato in her swimsuit, but Gouda, ever the gentleman, firmly argues that he wouldn't just stand there and stare at her like a pervert. Meanwhile, the girls are busy shopping for swimsuits. Yamato, to her friend's surprise, begins picking out the very revealing ones. Concerned, her friends ask her what is going on. She admits that Gouda is so attractive, and compared to him, she feels like a stick. Therefore, she wants to wear something that makes her feel more appealing. Her friends help her pick out a few options that suit her better. Later, Yamato calls Gouda and mentions that the weather forecast on TV predicts a possible typhoon, wondering if they would still be able to go to the beach and if everything is going to be all right. Gouda reassures Yamato that everything will be fine, despite the weather forecast. Next day, the sun shines brightly and everyone meets up, excited to head to the beach. During the bus ride, they catch up with each other, laughing and sharing stories. Yamato, however, stays quiet and shy, feeling flustered with Gouda sitting so close to her. When they arrive at the beach, excitement fills the air as they quickly set up their beach umbrella and settle in. Gouda admires his gorgeous girlfriend, but Suna reminds him not to stare too much. Meanwhile, the boys' behaviors make the girls feel a bit uncomfortable. At that moment, Gouda stands up and takes off his t-shirt, revealing his well-defined body. Yamato's eyes widen at the sight and she quickly looks away, blushing shyly. Later, as Gouda swims in the deeper waters, one of the girls points out to Yamato that Gouda is far away, jokingly saying that he almost looks like a whale swimming out there. However, Yamato simply admires him from the shore. The girls start convincing her to take off her hoodie, and when Gouda catches a glimpse of her in her swimsuit, he is stunned. Soon, the group begins playing ball on the beach. Gouda excels at the game, attracting a crowd of spectators who gather to watch and cheer for him. He starts playing with some kids in the water, which causes a few women to take notice of him. One of the girls approaches Gouda and suggests they head over to the rocks. Watching from a distance, Yamato feels embarrassed about her failed attempts to get closer to Gouda and runs away, feeling overwhelmed. Later, as the sun begins to set, Yamato and Gouda find a quiet spot to share the beautiful view together. Gouda leans in, about to kiss her, but they are interrupted by the boys arriving. The next day, Yamato texts Gouda to let him know she plans to go skating with her friends and invites him to join them. Excited by the idea, Gouda agrees and invites his friends to come along as well. They all eagerly express their enthusiasm to join. However, Suna hesitates, mentioning that he dislikes cold places and has never skated before. Gouda reassures him, revealing that he hasn't skated before either, so it will be fine. At the skating park, it becomes clear that Gouda is surprisingly talented at skating despite his earlier inexperience. He even takes time to teach Yamato how to skate, helping her gain confidence on the ice. After a while, they decide to switch to a warmer area. However, this sudden change in temperature makes Yamato's knees itch uncomfortably. Meanwhile, Suna asks Gouda about the business card he noticed him exchanging earlier. Soon, the boys praise Gouda for the impressive moves he performs at the skating park. After hearing that Yamato wants to attend the same college as him, Gouda turns to Suna, asking for his help in preparing for an upcoming benchmark exam so he can enroll in Yamato's university of choice. Suna smiles and agrees, ready to assist his friend in reaching his goal. They start revising the English lectures together. Yamato texts Gouda, sharing information about the university options they can apply to. The next day, Gouda's friends are surprised and shocked to see him studying diligently. He asks Suna to come over later and to say Yamato each time he notices that he's losing focus. While they study, Yamato visits Gouda's house. His mother lets her into his room and watches as her son's girlfriend hands him chocolate. Excited to learn that Yamato is Gouda's girlfriend, Gouda's mom rushes to the kitchen to prepare some tea, eager to impress her. Later, Gouda walks Yamato home, enjoying the time they spend together. During dinner, Gouda shares with his parents that Yamato will be coming over tomorrow. In the middle of the night, he wakes up to find his mom cleaning the house. In the morning, he notices that everything is exceptionally tidy and that his parents are dressed more formally than usual. Just then, the doorbell rings. Gouda's mom opens the door and greets Yamato, inviting her to make herself at home. The couple sits in the room and studies together. However, Gouda's father walks in, interrupting them to introduce himself to Yamato. He kindly asks her to look after his son before leaving the room. Then Gouda's mother walks in and asks if they're hungry and would like to eat. Yamato agrees and shares the sweets she brought with her, impressing Gouda's mother. Sensing the need for privacy, Gouda soon asks his mom to step outside the room so that he and Yamato can study peacefully. During the exam, Takeo confidently answers the questions based on what he's learned, only to realize he wrote all his responses in the wrong places. In a panic, he rushes to fix his mistakes, but ultimately ends up with poor marks. This makes him very sad, so he calls Yamato for support. She reassures him that they can both apply to another college together and points out that the university he tested for is actually a women's college, meaning he wouldn't have been able to attend anyway. This revelation brings him relief. Meanwhile, Suna bursts out laughing, having known all along that it was a women's college and he had tricked Gouda into studying for the exam just for fun.